start our meeting. This is the UDOT Transportation Commission, Friday, June 26, 2020, at 8:30 a.m. I call this order. Thank you. Let's start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. You all can see the flag behind my desk. Please all rise and put your hands over your head, heart, and let us start the pledge. I will say the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And just along with the pledge, please also remember those that we have lost during this tragedy of the COVID-19, and those that are struggling still in the hospitals and care centers, and especially pray for those that are fighting on our behalf. They're just the times that we need to be very grateful for those that we have in the front lines. Thank you for being here today. So, as you know, this is electronic meeting based on the executive order by the Governor Herbert. So we follow the same format. Nothing has changed. Today we will have introductions first. During the introduction, of course, I will ask the commission and UDOT family introduce themselves, not the audience that are participating with us. So let's start with the commissioners. With the high-ranking Commissioner Barlow, start with you, please.
I'm on board.
Start your name and then what your capacity as a region.
I represent Region 1, which is the 6 northernmost counties in the state, from Box Elder down through Davis County.
Thank you. Commissioner Kramer. Commissioner Kramer, microphone on.
Apologies, Lou Kramer, still working with technology, live in downtown Salt Lake City, but love to go to lovely and sunny St. George. I'm a commissioner at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Law.
My name's Donna Law. My home is in Cedar City, and I am a commissioner at large. Therefore, I get to represent the entire state.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans.
Jim Evans, Region 3. I live in Utah County, but I go a middle swath of the state, all the way up the Uinta Basin, and happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Tassel.
Yes, Kevin Van Tassel. I'm a commissioner at large, live in Vernal, Utah, and glad to be on the meeting today.
Thank you. And we would like to excuse Commissioner Cogner this morning. She has some commitments, but she has told us that maybe join us by 10 o'clock. But we still have a quorum to conduct the meeting. And my name is Nagi Zinadi, chiming in from sunny and warm St. George with a hint of smoke this morning. Thank you. And we would like to also recognize our federal highway partners, Commissioner Ivan Barrero and Richard Mendel. Thank you for being here and joining us. Right now, I would like to ask Carlos to introduce our UDOT family, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. And I see we have 37 people just in this online meeting, and probably a bit more following on YouTube. I'm going to throw a little curveball here at Jason and Terry, and what I'll ask them to do is to go down the list and introduce each one of their folks on their team. So I'll start with Terry Newell. She's Deputy Director for Planning and Investment. And then we have Jason Davis, Deputy Director for Engineering and Operations. And I don't know if I've seen, I do not see our Director of Communications, Elizabeth Waite. She's probably listening on YouTube, as well as Linda Hull, our Policy Director as well. I don't see her online right now. But what I'll do is I'll turn to Terry and ask Terry to introduce, because if we go through every person, it might be a little clumsy. So I'll ask Terry to introduce the folks from her team that are online here.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. And I just want everybody to recognize that I am sporting a new version of a tie today. So Jason's got an actual tie on. For today, so that I always remember to have my mask with me. So anyway, we've got Ben Hewitt, who is our Director of Program Development. We've got, I'm going alphabetical order here, Eileen Barron, who is Planning and Investment Communications Manager. We've got Heather Barthold, which is our Commission Assistant, you well know. Ivan Hartle, Director of Program Finance. We have Jordan Lee with Technology and Innovation. We have Carrie Ann Noble, who's our Business Project Manager. We have Bob Pelly, who's our STIP Coordinator, and we have Nathan Lee, who is our Director of Technology and Innovation.
Thank you, Terry. Jason?
Okay, I'll jump in now. So we have Brad Palmer, our Region 2 Program Manager, Brian Adams, our Region 2 Director, Carmen Swanwick, our Region 2 Deputy Director, Charles Stormont, our Director of Right-of-Way, Cheryl Simmons, our Structures Engineer, Jared Esselman, our Director of Aeronautics, Cade Roberts, our Region 4 Program Manager, Chris Peterson, our Director of Project Development, Lisa Wilson, our Region 1 Director, Monty Aldridge, our Region 4 Deputy Director, Nathan Peterson, our Region 1 Program Manager, Rob Clayton, our Region 3 Director, Rob White, our Operations Director, and I think that takes care of all my folks.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have enough directors on this call.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having all your departments. You know every one of them. Thank you. And I would like to also recognize Mayor Holly Danes of the Logan, as we were supposed to be in her town, beautiful town of Logan this morning. She will have the opportunity to speak to us in the public comment section. Mayor, will you be patient until then? Okay.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you. And also Mayor John Pike of St. George will join us at that point too, hopefully.
I'm here now, Commissioner.
Oh, good morning, Mayor. Welcome.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us proceed with item number 2, local area presentation, region by Region 1. Nathan Peterson will take that lead. But Commissioner, just remember, you have to be there and attentive. And at any point, if you cannot hear my voice or presenters, any items for the voting, let us know if your microphone is malfunctioning or your video. We want to make sure you're there until end of the meetings, and I will also have a roll call by the end to make sure everybody attended the meeting. Thank you. Nathan, you have the con.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a unique opportunity for me to do my first local area presentation through Google Meet. Unfortunately, we're not in the Logan area, but we do have a lot to talk about. It's a unique location for Region 1 and has some unique transportation challenges. So with that being said, I'm going to go to my presentation and have just some patience with me. All right, you should be able to see. All right, should be able to see a wonderful photo of Logan with the LDS Logan Temple there in the center, and right at the top middle of the screen in the far distance, you can see Old Main, which is kind of the main building for the Utah State campus. Some of these things like Utah State bring in several thousand people every year. And many of those people, as they go to school there, they tend to want to stay in the Cache Valley area because it's such a wonderful place to live. It's the gateway and the entrance to a lot of recreational locations in the Wasatch Mountains. And it's not that far from the Bear Lake recreational area. Now, one unique thing about Logan is that there is no direct interstate connection to the Cache Valley to any of our interstate facility. There's only 4 ways in and out of the valley, US 91 on the south and north end, 89, which goes through Logan Canyon on the west, and on the east side, SR 30, which will take you over into Box Elder County. And if you keep going west, you will finally be able to enter I-15 at the Riverside interchange. All these 4 locations, they kind of all converge and meet on Main Street in about a 2-block area between 2nd and 4th North. So because of this, it causes some unique challenges for traffic flow and operations through the valley. Now, when you think of Logan, we here in the region typically get asked questions on 3 main areas, and those are the areas that I want to hit first in this presentation. I've kind of broken this presentation up to talk about past projects. The last time we were in the Cache Valley area was the Smithfield Transportation Commission meeting, current projects and future projects. And I want to begin by first talking about probably the project that we were asked about the most. And I'll go back and I'll just say that probably the 3 areas that we're asked the most about for Cache Valley is SR 30, Logan Main Street, and Logan Canyon. So those will be the first 3 go to the next slide also. We're constantly asked about what are we doing to improve safety through Logan Canyon. And we've identified 3 safety projects in this canyon, which are programmed. One, the US 89 Rumble Strip project is at the intersection to the Beaver Mountain turnoff. That's SR 243, which is a ski resort, a very popular recreational destination for many people in Cache Valley. This project will improve turn lanes onto SR 243, but will also provide a center lane rumble strip, which will help notify vehicles once they start to cross the center line to help us mitigate those crossover type accidents. We've done a traffic analysis in the canyon, and we've identified a few key locations where we feel like we want to improve safety in the canyon. Also in that area, the Tony Grove, the Sinks area, in the winter, we get a lot of snow, a lot of cold temperatures, and along with that, a lot of wind. And it can impact the visibility of 89, US 89 as you travel US 89. So we've also are currently in design for a snow fence project in that Beaver Mountain Logan Summit area, which will help mitigate some of that blowing snow that crosses and drifts over US 89. And the third one, the bottom project, US 89 Shoulder Barrier Project. From that traffic study or analysis that we did of the canyon, we identified 12 key locations, typically horizontal curves, where we need to go in and place some additional barrier. That's either guardrail, concrete jersey barrier, but in a canyon situation, most likely will be guardrail to help with those run off the road type accidents. You said there's 12 key locations. This project is funded through our Traffic and Safety Division for year 2023. It's funded at $1.1 million. Now that right-hand fork to Tony Grove Pavement Rehabilitation Project is a project that we have completed last year. I just wanted to mention it where it was through the canyon, that we're continually looking at improving the pavement through the canyon area. I want to kind of jump away from Cache Valley and jump over into Rich County. That's because many people from Cache Valley and throughout the state like to do some recreation in the summer in the Bear Lake area. And as the commission knows, we were appropriated $8 million of recreational hotspot dollars to help improve some of the intersections in the Bear Lake area. The first one, the main project, is the Bear Lake Marina access. And I just wanted to give you a fast update on that we're currently in the design. We're hopeful to advertise this winter. There's a lot of permit challenges where you're working so close to the lake with wetlands and other environmental stakeholders. The team's actively engaged in pursuing those permits so we can go ahead with construction. And we have 2 intersections that are currently in construction. The main intersection there at 89 and 30, that's kind of where you might convene to get your shake there at the crossroads. Unique intersection, a lot of pedestrian traffic in the area, and it was an interesting design. We'll signalize that intersection and do some other improvements to that intersection. And that is currently in construction. Then one later this fall will be the center turn lanes at 300 West, which is the KOA, if you're familiar with the area. We want to wait for that summer recreational time to pass and then go in and do that construction. Then next year, we will kick off the SR 30 center turn lane of Buttercup project. Also in the area, recently we've been asked a lot about our truck escape ramp. It is currently in construction and should be complete within the next couple of months. Project value of $5 million. And along with that, we also have a Bear Lake brake check area, which the region is using $230,000 of contingency funds, which will provide an area for these trucks to pull off and check their brakes prior to the descent into Rich County. That also is currently in construction. Next, I want to talk about some of our active transportation projects. I know the mayor mentioned some of the fun trail projects, and Mr. Chair, you were talking about the sidewalks in the area. These next two slides will show some of that effort that the department is engaged in. The first one, as you can see, Safe Routes to School. These are great projects that help with access into some of the elementary schools and junior highs in the area with a tremendous amount of growth. There's been quite a few schools be built, and these Safe Routes to School projects help provide sidewalk for those small school-age children to safely walk down the corridor, the road as they travel to school. Second slide is more of our transportation TAP projects. These are our trail projects, and as you can see, Cache Valley has received a good portion, a large portion of our region TAP projects over the past couple of years. Two key projects, the Logan Canyon Pathway, which is a great connection there by the country club as it goes down US 89, down the Dugway, down to the first dam area. Great project, had a lot of challenges, but once it was complete, awesome project. Another one was the Blacksmith Fork Canyon Trail, which provided a trail system from Hiram up SR 101, which takes you to that Hardware Ranch recreational area up at the top of SR 101. You see we have two other trail projects in the Cache Valley area. Transportation studies, I kind of broke this into two different slides. CMPO sponsored, which is the Metropolitan Area Planning Organization area for Cache Valley, and then UDOT sponsored projects. First, I'd like to go over the CMPO sponsored studies. And as you can see from the top three, bikeway planning study, active transportation corridor study, and the Middle Canal crossing, it is a pedestrian bridge and crossing project over the Middle Canal there in Logan City. These are studies and projects that are active transportation related. As the mayor mentioned, there's a large demand for that in Logan City and Cache Valley. These studies will help us with that planning effort. And then the South Cache County corridor. This is on the south end of Cache County in the Nibley-Hiram area, adjacent to SR 101, which is that road that takes you up to Hardware Ranch. The desire there is to look for another route other than SR 101 to give you a connection from 91, SR 91 to SR 165. If you've ever traveled 101 through the Hiram area, it's a very residential, older town type of feeling as you go through there. That roadway, there's a lot of access points, a lot of residential, and this project is trying to answer the question: should there be another route that connects those two major collectors in the South Cache area? And that project is currently being kicked off and underway. Those UDOT sponsored projects, as you can see, have to do with Main Street and help us answer the questions of how to accommodate all that traffic through the Main Street, and where are these motorists going? Where are they just passing through? Are they shopping? Where are they going? And that will help us understand traffic movements and help us understand what type of projects need to be done on Logan Street. And of course, that corridor study, which will help us identify that long-term vision of Main Street. And then another project on the south end of the valley is the SR 91 intersection improvement project at 3200 South. This is a safety project with the high speeds of SR 91. We're looking to improve the intersection at 3200 South. We've been in a partnership with Logan City and Nibley City to try to find a solution in the area. We're currently in that environmental phase, brainstorming and looking for possible solutions. And we actually have a community open house set for 30th of this month to present ideas and seek some feedback. And we're planning to hopefully advertise this project next year. As we complete the environmental study section, then we can go into active right-of-way purchasing. And last, I know this has been a little bit of a lengthy presentation, but there's so much work in the area. Just go through some of the other projects. As you can kind of see some of the pavement projects that have gone on in the Cache Valley area. I just want to draw your eyes to this picture because you're going to see a commission action item in the agenda. This is a box culvert in Smithfield, which crosses Summit Creek underneath US 91. And it is a older project, older box culvert built in the 30s. And there's been a section that's been widened on. And over the years, water has entered into the top of the box and has created a pothole in that roof of that box in the park strip area. Just need you to understand it's not within the traveled way of US 91. Our maintenance folks identified this through their normal inspection process. We've had structures look at it, and we've determined that the best solution here is to replace that box. One, because of the age of the box, and then two, of this water issue and the pothole issue of the roof of the box. Also, we've spent a lot of signal money in the area, $4.2 million. A lot of signals on US 91 as the area has grown. Access onto 91 has become critical, and we've responded by placing several intersections at key signals at key intersections along US 91. And then last, some of those other types of projects, just miscellaneous projects where we've found opportunities to go ahead and either improve drainage or right-hand turn pockets, or partner and do some curb match type projects in the area. So this concludes the local area presentation for Logan. I guess at this time, if necessary, I would go ahead and take any questions that you may or may not have. If not, I would turn the time back over to Mr. Chair.
Chair Nagati, this is Nagy. This
Yes.
is Commissioner Evans. I have a question for Nathan. Nathan, do you know what the scheduled time is for the intersection there for the light in the Garden City there on the main intersection of Logan Canyon, when that's scheduled to be done? Mostly with the light working and the concrete work.
I know that they're in active construction. I would assume that they will be finished within a month. And
Okay.
I'll go ahead and ping that project manager and get you an exact time if you desire. But that type of project is probably an additional 4 weeks.
Okay, I just know that this is the time of year you get more and more people up there for the shakes and for the other things, Raspberry Days and so forth. So I'm just curious if they were trying to be done before Raspberry Day, for the first week of August, or how that'll be going.
That has been the big push. We've incentivized that project, that contract, and are pushing that contractor to get that done prior to Raspberry Days.
Just knowing, once again, it's a busy time up there, and with the construction in the way, that'll probably cause a little more grief. So that's good. Thank you. Thanks for that answer.
Yep.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
Nagy, Lou Kramer, Nathan, that was an excellent report. May I just reiterate the important economic value of Logan and Cache Valley to the state? Utah State is one of our great universities, as we all know. There's probably more items orbiting the Earth that came from the Space Dynamics Lab than from any other place on Earth. And I just really appreciate what you're doing. My family settled that place, I don't know, 7 generations ago. And we're very appreciative of that. And the milkshakes are great, but the year-round Utah State Aggies, and I know we've got a few of them on the phone here, are very, very appreciative of what you're doing up there. So keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you stop repeating the shake and shake? Some of us don't have any breakfast yet. Torture.
Nagy, next time I'm in St. George, I'm buying you all the milkshakes you want, brother.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mayor Daines, I hope that you got all the numbers and figures and added all up, that how much has been spent in your community. And I hope that you will use this video to share with your council and your public meetings and encourage your commission and county commissioners to use this video. It is.
We appreciate your support. And actually, during my presentation, I'll thank you for some other things as well. So we do appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. If there's no other question from Nathan, then I will proceed with item number 3. We will ask the Ivan, I guess, will report on the federal highway section. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Wayne. I just want to commend Nathan for that excellent report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, good morning, Commissioner and Mr. Chairman. I'm Ivan Marrero, the Division Administrator for the Federal Highway Administration here in Utah, and I have 5 items to bring to your attention this morning. And so, Ivan, how's this gonna work? Are you driving or am I driving? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Ivan. Just go to the next slide, please. Last time I spoke to the commission, I mentioned that we had renegotiated our memorandum of understanding for the categorical exclusions. Basically, this document allows UDOT to assume authority for processing the categorical exclusion environmental documents. So it has to be renewed every 3 years. And at that time, I went before the commission. We had just posted it on the Federal Register for comments. That 30-day comment period came to an end. We only received 2 comments. I was very disappointed. I was hoping to be a lot of interest in this, but only only 2 people expressed a desire to provide comments. So we read the comments. One was in favor of it. The other one was a little difficult to decipher. So we've decided that we could execute the MOU. So on June 22nd, we had planned to have a nice photo op with Carlos and I all dressed up and cameras there to sign it, but because of the COVID-19, I was not allowed to travel to UDOT. So we actually, Carissa Watanabe deserves a lot of thanks because she was able to get Carlos to sign it and bring it over to me and get me to sign it. So, but we were able to get it signed on June 22nd. So again, I do want to express my appreciation to UDOT and Carissa and everybody else over there for getting the MOU put together and renewed. Go to the next one, Ivan, please. Excuse me. Another thing to bring to your attention is that we have on Federal Highway side, we have a program called the Emergency Relief Funding Program, which provides funds to states when events happen that are unexpected and cause damage to the highways in the state. In the 6 years I've been here, we've had 2 other events that we participated in. If I can recall correctly, we had, I think last summer and spring we had those landslides on the Cottonwood Canyons that created some damage. So I believe we participated in those repairs. We also I think it was back in 2014 or 2015 when the I-15 section through the Virgin River in Arizona was damaged with flooding and closed. Traffic was detoured through all Highway 91. So if you can imagine, putting interstate traffic on that little road really damaged it a lot. So we were able to provide funds for that repair. So those have been the 2 prior ER events that I recall since I've been here. So for this one, for the earthquake damage, UDOT was able to provide us with the details on the damage, the amount of damage, and the cost of the repairs. So we've determined that those repairs are eligible in the amount of $2 million, so that those funds will be available for UDOT to be reimbursed for the repair work they've done already. Let's go to the next one, Ivan. Just to bring something to the attention of the commission, we have something called the Special Experimental Project Program, SCP-16. This was put in place by the FAST Act, and basically it kind of gives us a little flexibility on experimenting with providing authorities over to the state to experiment. For initially, SCP-16 was set up to be to provide the delegation for program level type of actions. We've been through enough for a couple of years, and a lot of the states have been asking for project level type of authority. So we published a notice in the Federal Register letting states know that if they're interested in assuming project level type of authorities or responsibilities, they can apply to this program. This on the bottom right there, that shows you the different states that have applied so far. We have California, Georgia, Ohio, Texas, and Washington, and the different types of authorities that they have requested. Only the Georgia request for air quality assessment has been accepted. Ohio requested one for approving financial plans and management plans for major projects, and they were accepted, but then they changed their mind later on. So, so again, this is just for your information. Should you be interested in pursuing one of these authorities, we would work with them to help them out. Let's go to the next one, Ivan. Just a couple of, I do have two funding opportunities here to bring to your attention. One is called the Complete Trip ITS for US Deployment Program. Heck of a name, but basically it's a program that the intent is to provide a way for travelers to get from point A to point B in a seamless manner, and is intended to help people with disabilities or healthcare issues. So I mean, I think this fits right along with what we're doing. Some of the MPOs, I know Wasatch Front and maybe MAG has been doing a last mile type of putting together a last mile type of program to help improve those connections. So should they be interested in applying for this program, there's $40 million available overall that they can apply, and it's open to public agencies, private companies, nonprofit organizations, even academic institutions. Let's go to the next one, Ivan. There's also another funding opportunity. It's called the Work Zone Data Exchange, or WZDX. And this program provides $2.4 million for, basically the way it works is it's kind of like that nice presentation we had by Blaine yesterday about the connected vehicles. It helps set up a system that where work zone activities going on a work zone are able to be communicated to automated driving systems or cars. So that communication happens and it provides for a safer environment. So again, there's $2.4 million available under this program. Should there be an interest in that one? Let's go to the next one, please, Ivan. I just wanted to give you a quick summary on the Highway Trust Fund. I know Carlos touched on it yesterday and did a great job. So just real quick to mention, really, we are approaching a cash shortfall with the Highway Trust Fund. This graph shows that the orange line is the spending, and then the blue line is the revenue. As you can see, we're spending more than we're bringing in. The green bars are the times when Congress has transferred money into the Highway Trust Fund to keep it funded. You can see back in 2016 under the FAST Act, they added $70 billion to the Highway Trust Fund to keep it again funded. So that's kind of where we are. Please let's go to the next one, Ivan. So recent revenue numbers coming in show that this is just for the month of April and May. So for the first half of April, the amount of money coming in compared to 2019 was 26% lower. The second half of April, it was 46% lower than 2019. And then the first half of May, it was 42% lower. So based on these numbers, we're projecting that the Highway Trust Fund will will experience a cash shortfall earlier than estimated previously. Let's go to the next one, Ivan. And this is kind of Federal Highways has done a couple of different scenarios to see where or to project the balance in the Highway Trust Fund. What you see there is that the three lower lines are the ones that we're projecting, and it shows that we're going to be maybe in the spring. We'll be getting to the red line. The red line marks the $4 billion mark in the Highway Trust Fund. That's where we would start doing some of our cash management practices, kind of start managing how much money we pay out to the states so we can remain within budget. So if we were expecting that we will reach that number in the fall of 2021, now we think it's going to be a little earlier, maybe the spring of 2021. So let's go to the next one. Is that the last one I had? Okay. So what are the next steps? I mentioned those three different scenarios on the trust fund account, and we think we'll reach a critical point in 2021. We will continue to monitor the funding, and should it become necessary, we will go into cash management procedures, which, like Carlo explained before, basically what we do is just make sure we stay at that $4 billion range so we don't run out of money, and that would mean reducing our funding to the states. That would have a negative impact on the state's ability to deliver the program. So we will continue to provide. We are monitoring, and we'll continue to provide updates as this develops. And that is my last slide. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Well, there's no question, but Ivan and Brigitte, I would like to, in behalf of UDOT and UDOT Commission, I would like to say your kind service for the state of Utah and the citizen. You've been a wonderful asset to all of us. Gracias and merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I did forget to thank Danny Page has been a great help with us with all the emergency relief work, especially with the earthquake and all that. So I wanted to thank Danny for, he's been able to keep really good records and show to us what the real estimates of the damage are. That's really helped us make our decisions. And thanks to Danny for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a UDOT scoreboard, and Chris Peterson and Rob White will lead that discussion. Chris, you're first.
Great, commissioners. Thank you. I'm excited to be here today. I decided that is it 3 months in a row in my bedroom was too much, so I came hopefully you will be okay with that, and I will throw up my presentation for you right now. All right, you should be able to now see our project development dashboard. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so we are happy to be able to report that our delivery of the program continues. Significant work goes on every single day. It's amazing the resilience, the innovation, and the ability for our folks to continue to deliver the program as we've committed to you that we would do. Right now, we currently have 677 active projects that you have approved. Right now, we're kind of in the advertising lull as we prepare to get ready for next year, though. You'll see that in the middle of the screen up here, 125 projects will be advertising within 60 days, or just out more than 60 days. And I'll show you on a graph where we start to see that significant effort by our design teams come into play. We right now only have one planned project to advertise within the next 60 days, but there's a significant amount of work preparing for the fall. And particularly, we are working to make sure that we take advantage of every single federal dollar that is available to us. So our teams are working to make sure that we obligate all of the federal money that Ivan has promised, that he is personally promised that we're going to get. So we're going to hold him to that and do our best to take advantage. Right now, this fiscal year so far, we've advertised 135 projects totaling over $1.6 billion. And our goal is 85% advertised on time. We're at 88%. We're super pleased that we've been able to maintain that even through the COVID telework limitations that we've been working under. This past month, we've advertised 15 projects, nearly $56 million worth of project value on those 15 projects. We're pleased about that, even though we are in a slower time. The work continues to go forward, as you can see. This chart right here is our advertising status, and it's over the course of the past year. Green is good, yellow is not so good, and red is not as good. But what you'll notice right now is we're in June and July. We're in our low spot, but over the next few months, you'll see that we're going to begin advertising our projects for next year already. And that is important for us to be able to make sure we get that under contract and provide a good, fair, competitive environment for those advertisements. But it's also important for the contracting community to be able to have projection and an understanding of the work that's out there for the future, so they can plan and budget for their workforce, for their staff. And so we continue to march on, and we continue to move forward there. An update on our active construction projects. We have 190 projects currently active, which means they're under contract. Some may not have started yet. Some may, many are underway, and some will be starting up here shortly as we get in through the middle of the paving season, and the work really continues to proceed. We have $1.1 billion that we have not paid on our contracts, and we have it seems to trend about 50-50 every month, and about 1.1 billion yet to pay on those contracts that we've committed out to the contractors. And then just quickly, our contractor payments. So far this month, we have paid out $64 million to our contractors, generally on the average of $2 million a day to our contractors. That's incredibly helpful and valuable to them, that they know that they have a consistent payment source, so they'll continue to work for us and deliver the needed transportation solutions, as well as help support the economy through workers and jobs during such a crazy time. So that's the presentation I have for you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about this or about our program, or what the weather's like in my office today.
Well, Chris, you haven't lost the touch yet. After 3 months, you're still doing a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Rob, I guess you have the con now.
Commissioners, it's good to be with you again. Here we are in June, and I'm here to give an update on the safety. I wanted to take an opportunity, and I don't know how many of you had a chance to look at our new website, but I'm going to navigate you to where to find this information on our website. Hopefully you can all see that. Can you see our website now?
Yes.
Okay. So if you notice that it's quite a bit different, a lot of the same information is here. It's just some of it's in different locations. Some of it's much easier to find. And I'm going to point you down here to the corner, the bottom corner, where it's policy and funding. And then there's where our strategic direction document is that we go over every month. And so that's pretty simple to find. And as we've seen this in the past, this has all of the information concerning our strategic goals. I'm going to focus today, of course, on zero fatalities and give you an update on that and how we're doing. As you can see, we're hitting about 76% of our goal with zero fatalities. If you look down here below, you can see where we're meeting our goal and where we're coming up a little short. Traffic fatalities, as you can see, we're coming up a little short, as well as traffic serious injuries. we're meeting all our traffic crashes goals as well as internal fatalities and internal injuries, and we're not hitting any of our internal equipment damage goal. So let's drill down into that a little bit. And as you can see, our historical safety index, this has trended lower in 2014 through 2016, and then we've picked up and hit kind of a peak in 2018, 2019, and we're headed back down again, unfortunately. So what are the stats that have happened since last commission meeting that I want to talk about? First one is dealing with fatalities. Unfortunately, we're not currently meeting our goal in fatalities, and as a review, our target is to reduce that fatality number by 2.5% below the 3-year average. And so that puts that's a pretty aggressive goal, and every time we meet our goal, that 2.5% continues, and so it makes it more and more difficult to meet that goal. But that's really the kind of pressure that we want to improve our systems and improve driver behavior throughout the state, improve safety at intersections for pedestrians, for motorcyclists, for cyclists. But as you can see, our goal is 109 fatalities at this point in the year, and we're currently sitting at 114 fatalities. If you're looking back at last year at this time, we were sitting at 104 fatalities, and so we're not doing as well as we were last year at this time. But you go back to 2018, and we're about right where we were in 2018. We had 117 fatalities at this point in the year. Looking over UDOT's internal fatalities, and great news there. We haven't had a fatality within UDOT for many, many years, and we hope to keep it that way for many, many years to come. So our suspected serious traffic injuries, we're also not meeting our goal there. We currently have 273 suspected traffic injuries. And a note here, remember that this lags for 2 or 3 months. And so this is data that's coming in back in April. And so we haven't got the data yet for May or June, and so just be aware of that. But currently, the way we're trending is we're trending over our goal. Our injury rate internally, we're doing well there. We're meeting our goal. Not a concern there, although we can always look to do better. What's interesting here is our traffic crashes. The number of crashes are down, and we're actually meeting our entire goal here. It's interesting to note that last year, most of the year, we were trending below in serious injuries and in fatalities, but our crash rates were much higher. With less traffic, we have fewer crashes, but the crashes that we're having are more severe. They're either serious or fatal, and so something to think about. And the question is why. And I think one of the obvious things we can point to is speed. And that's happening all over the nation. Minnesota did a study on what's going on there, and they basically those folks that are speeding 20 miles per hour over the speed limit in Minnesota, that number has about doubled in the last few months. And so I think we see those trends here in Utah. We've heard from Highway Patrol. We also see the trends around the country where the roads are open and people are traveling faster. So when they are in crashes, those crashes tend to be more serious. That's something that could explain what we're seeing with the numbers. Our equipment damage rate, we're still, as you can see, those peaks are in the winter. We're trending down here in the summertime. But we're still not meeting our goal there. Something that we still need a lot of work on. I don't know. I don't have any other items to present, but I'm open to any questions that you might have.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
please.
Lou Kramer here. I don't think my camera is working, which is probably a blessing to everybody, but Rob, thanks as always for that. And, you can't help but note that we've had about as many fatalities on the road as we've had with COVID. Would you remind us, or me at least, what % of people that are killed in crashes are not wearing their seatbelts? Because I'm trying to convince my colleagues to wear their face masks. You know, we wear seatbelts, we wear pants to work, you know, we do all these other things. Why can't we wear our masks? So I'm just curious, if you could just give ballpark about what the number of fatalities are without seatbelts.
It's a high percentage that are unrestrained, and it varies a little bit from year to year, but 50 to 60% of those that are killed in auto crashes typically are unrestrained.
Okay, appreciate that. Similarly with, you know, motorcyclists not wearing helmets, you know, and then it becomes everybody's problem when they're in the hospital. So anyway, thank you very much. It's somewhat encouraging, and I have had, obviously, personal observations of people are driving a lot faster than they probably ought to when there's not as many others on the road. Thank
Yes, I've noticed that the times I've been out on the road, which hasn't been as much lately, but yes, you see people speeding not only a few miles per hour, but many miles per hour over the speed limit.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob.
This is Wayne. I thank you again for that presentation, but I think it's probably true. Those who are inclined to speed way over the limit see an almost empty road, and that probably encourages them to have the lead foot. And as you point out, crashes are then much more likely to include fatal outcomes. Thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from Rob or Chris? Seeing none, thank you. Good presentation, Rob. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is grants update, and Ben Hood will lead that discussion for us this morning. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners, Mr. Chair. I'm going to have Ivan Hartle help me out today with the grants update. So like Rob, I think we're going to, Ivan, can you start at the UDOT website? Yeah, the new UDOT website, and scroll down to the Transportation Commission link under policy and funding. This is how to get to the grant information. And then down a ways on the commission page, there's a link to grant information. So there's 6 items that we've got here for status update today on grants. The first item is a work zone data exchange opportunity. This is the one that Ivan Marrero mentioned in his presentation. Thank you, Ivan and Brigitte, for always giving us a great heads up on these opportunities. So this one is related to work zones and data exchange. The UDOT lead, we've got Rob White and Chris Peterson and operations and project development are going to evaluate this one to see if there's an opportunity for UDOT to pursue this one. There's $2.4 million total available, like Ivan mentioned, and I think there was an AASHTO article that said that FHWA anticipates 12 grants of up to 200,000. So we'll take that into consideration in looking at this one. The second grant is the Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements Program grant. This is a grant that is a UTA-led local government project. And so UTA has recently applied for this grant. It's in the Region 3 area, Sharp-Tintic Railroad Connection Project. These grants are for things like the opportunity to consolidate rails and get rid of rail crossings. And so this is a great project. We've listed it here. Pending the award of that grant, we would likely come back to adjust the project value or request approval to adjust the project value on that project if it was awarded. And obviously, if there's any questions on any of these, just stop me. I'll just keep going down through, but feel free to stop me if you want to dig in on any of them. The next one is the build grant listing. We've talked about this one before. It's still on the list. We have not heard back. It's the 90th South Redwood Road to 700 West project. This was the project that there was a funding adjustment in, I believe, January of this year, and with a goal and commitment to replace that funding on the project. So we looked at that one, and it was actually a good fit for the Build Grant program. So that is a potential opportunity to replace that funding on that project. So I think the submission on that one was in May. So we've seen anywhere, we've seen kind of an average of 6 months on a lot of these before you hear back. So just to give an idea of when we may hear, that may be affected by some of the current situations, but we'll be in contact on that one. If you scroll down a little bit, this next one is the low or no emission vehicle program grant. And this one was submitted by Park City and their transit. And it was for overhead charging infrastructure for some electric buses. I think there was 4 overhead charging units that they had identified and submitted a grant for. That grant was awarded. And since Park City is a subrecipient to UDOT in the transit program, it was awarded to UDOT on behalf of Park City. So that would become part of the transit program that UDOT is involved with the subrecipients and in that annual program. And that was in the amount of just over $1 million on that award for the electric charging infrastructure. The next grant status update is the Infrastructure for Rebuilding America, or INFRA grant. This was the US 40 climbing lanes project. It was a Region 3 project, and we previously talked about this one. UDOT submitted that project for a grant application, and that was those awards were recently announced, and UDOT was not selected. That project was not selected for an INFRA grant. We did get some initial information. There was a lot of interest in that grant program. There was 173 applicants requesting around $7.3 billion worth of funding, which was more than 8 times the amount that was available. So it was a very sought after grant program. We do have a debrief scheduled for this coming week on Tuesday with FHWA to learn about how we can improve our grant or our grant applications, or anything else that we can learn about that program. So that's one thing that I know that's been asked before on those debriefs, and we are planning on taking advantage of that opportunity to learn and hopefully keep improving our applications. And then the last grant listing there is one we've talked about before also. It is Accelerated Innovation Deployment Grant, AID grant. That is out of our project development group, and for the Advancing Digital Construction and Data Capture. And that is another one that, as of now, we have not heard on an award on that one. That one, I think, let's see, what month was that? That was in February. We had requested and the commission approved contingent approval for the state match portion of that grant if that one is awarded. So those were the grants that I wanted to give a quick status update on. Is there any questions I can answer for the commission?
I don't see it, Ben. Thank you for presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 6, public comments. In as much as we were supposed to be in beautiful Logan and we couldn't make it, Mayor Holly Daines is gracious enough to join us and tell us about the beautiful community and what is going on. And the promise is that we will have the rain check for the next meeting in Logan and give us the better too, right?
Yes. So thank you very much for the time. I'll be brief because I know you have a long agenda. What we had hoped to do, and Lisa Wilson and I a year ago took a tour. We got a golf cart from our golf course and took a tour of our trail system. And there are several UDOT related projects along that system that we had hoped to kind of point out to you. So I'll just give you a brief review. If you'll picture coming in, out of Sardine Canyon, and then you come into Logan on US 89, right there at the railroad crossing, there we have our Rendezvous Park. And there's a railroad crossing there that's a key part of our trail system. And we had struggled for years because there was no way for bikes, wheelchairs, strollers to get across that. So finally, we were able to get permission from the railroad to do a pedestrian grade crossing there. And UDOT was very helpful in doing that. So picture that you're on a golf cart, you're going across that nice new crossing and continuing west out across Park Avenue. As part of the SR 30 project, as you know, there had to be wetland mitigation. So we've been working for quite a few years. It started out with Chris Peterson, thanks Chris, and then Lisa Wilson's helped us. We had a specific piece of wetlands available that we thought would be great for mitigation. It will really help Logan with stormwater. It's adjacent to our trail system. So we had been hoping UDOT would select that piece as mitigation, and that did happen. And then as part of kind of the next adjacent piece to that, Logan applied to the McAllister Conservation Fund, which is a state of Utah fund, to put 75 acres along the trail system into a conservation easement. And so the wetlands that UDOT has purchased will now be adjacent to the 75 acres Logan has purchased. And Logan will manage that all for stormwater benefits and floodwater benefits, floodway. And then eventually we'll put a trail continuing north that we hope eventually will connect to the bike lane will be on SR 30. I mean, we're still a ways from that, but working on it. And then a trail through the conservation easement. We just got a Utah Outdoor Recreation grant to do that. Cache County gave us $150,000 to help match the Kunstler easement. That was an $870,000 grant from the state, which we matched locally. So that will be a nice benefit. So it goes all the way out to the southwest corner of Logan. And then our trail system, our active transportation system, goes all the way to Logan Canyon. And Nathan Peterson showed you the picture of that last great section from Utah State down to First Dam, which we were able to complete with the TAP grant. And UDOT really helped us. As he said, it was a tough project. So thank you for that. But one of the main pinch points to connect both sides of our trail system is, of course, Main Street. And Nathan highlighted the challenges we face there and talked about the study that we're working on to try and make Main Street flow well. Of course, we don't have, I-15, we don't have a freeway to spend money on, but again, there are some little projects that can help us. And Lisa Wilson was really great to help us help come up with some money to do a feasibility study for a potential tunnel under Main Street at 600 South to connect both sides of the trail system without impacting traffic flow on Main Street. And, we're working through our CMPO to put a new bridge across the river at 100 West and go out to connect to US 8991, which will help traffic flow, hopefully some of the Main Street pressure. If you've been to Logan lately and driven into town, we've really been working to beautify South Main. And again, the light there has been a huge safety improvement, the pedestrian activated light. And Riverwoods has done a beautiful expansion across the river to the north. And again, given us access for a public trail system. There's a big new office building on the west side that, again, we're trying to negotiate a public trail easement. So we have some great things going there, and we really appreciate that. And potentially, if the feasibility study is looking good, if we got the funding, perhaps we could do that in 2024, 2025 when we redo Main Street. Again, our public works director is hoping 2025 because coming up with the money from Logan's perspective, we may have to bond for that to create all that new infrastructure. So in a brief nutshell, thank you so much to UDOT for helping us with many of these key projects. We appreciate Lisa and Nathan, and thanks, Wayne, for your work on the commission. If you have any questions, I'll answer them, but thank you.
Any questions from Mayor Daines?
So come back next year. And like I say, it's fun to get on that golf cart and really get on the trail system and go out and see the beauty and where these conservation easements are. And so please come.
I have one question. Go
Thanks,
ahead.
Mayor. Commissioner Evans, beautiful area. And I guess we've been talking about raspberry shakes, but we can't forget the Aggie ice cream that we're going to get when we come to Logan next year. So
We will make arrangements for that.
look forward.
You have a beautiful city, Mayor.
Yes, you do. So
do.
I
Thank you, Mayor
heard the
Daines.
news this morning, Mayor, from the Wisconsin cheese factory. They're going to be raising the price on the cheese. What about the Cache Valley cheese? Are you going to raise the price on that?
You know, I haven't talked to the manufacturers lately, but they do a great job. And again, it supports the local agricultural industry. They use so much local milk, and they've been expanding here in Logan, their plant and their workforce. We've helped them with that.
Thank you for the report, Mayor. Thank you for being with us, and thank you.
Thank you,
Allow us
everyone,
to
for
be
your
part
time.
of you. Thank you. Now we go all the way from north to all the way to south. Sunny St. George and Mayor John Pike, my favorite mayor and hardworking mayor, another hardworking mayor for the state. So go ahead, Mayor. You have the con.
Thank you, Commissioner, Chairman Nagy. You're awesome. We sure love you. And if there's a patron saint of transportation and just pure goodness in St. George, it's Nagy's and Adi.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind, Mayor.
Well, thank you very much, and appreciate being able to follow my friend Mayor Daines from Logan. You know, I can't help but notice and think about, pardon me, I don't know why this gets me emotional, but what a great state we have, and how UDOT connects us all from St. George to Logan. And in my case, you talked a little bit about Bear Lake earlier. I've gone to Bear Lake almost every year of my life since I was about 5 years old. And sometimes through Parley's, and sometimes up through Mayor Daines' neck of the woods, through Sardine Canyon and Logan Canyon. But what a beautiful state we have, and you all connect us. So thank you for what you do. And I wish right now I want to get up to either Logan or to Bear Lake and get some Aggie ice cream, or some LeBeau's raspberry banana shake is my shake of choice. So sorry to continue the theme, Nagy, but
Sure.
and I was there last year. I think it was right after one of those trucks, you know, went through the intersection. And so I just love how proactive and how helpful UDOT is at doing things like truck escape lanes and that traffic light, the signal there. I will use it. I will use it when it's finished. My purpose besides just really, I do want to thank you, all of you, for everything that you do for our end of the state as well. And speak specifically today to an item that's a little bit further down your agenda, and it's the State Route 18, or Bluff Street on the south end, pedestrian / bike tunnel. Again, to continue on the theme that Mayor Daines just spoke about. We have had such great response, everybody, to the tunnel that went under, or that goes under I-15 at 400 South. We're our students at Dixie State University, our public, myself, many people are using that tunnel. It's been a wonderful facility just in the few, it's been almost a year now since that was completed. A great partnership between UDOT, the MPO, the City of St. George, and Dixie State University. So here we are with another one, working with Rick Torgerson and with Cade Roberts, Chris Sanders, and we've identified funding at St. George where we could match half. We'd pay half of the cost of this tunnel that would connect our bike paths on the one side of Bluff Street to the other, and get people from all over our trail system down into town without having to cross that busy Bluff Street corridor. They just go right under it. It's just a fantastic thing for active transportation as well as for tourism. So I'm just here to advocate for that, and to tell you all we have the funding. We've identified it. It's already planned in our budget for as soon as you need it. And so we'd be thrilled to partner with you once again. And again, I can't emphasize enough, thank you. I feel so well served as working with the city of St. George for the last 12 and a half years as a council member and then as mayor. I just applaud each one of you. Carlos, your team is incredible. I just want to thank you all, and whatever may happen with this, I know we'll continue to be great partners in the future. Thank you, commissioners.
Any question from Mayor Pike? Thank you, Mayor, and I'm sorry that I couldn't make it to the bike ride from the Washington to St. George. I was busy with the Community Impact Board meeting, so sorry, my apologies to you.
No problem at all. And again, another great opportunity. We call it affectionately the missing link. Yes. There is no more missing link, at least on the east side of town. We'll be working on a few missing pieces on the west side now in the next few years. But that is a great ride. In fact, I have it on good authority that Rick Torgerson may be riding that missing link again this weekend, as I believe he's taking a little bit of vacation down here in our neck of the woods. And it's only going to be 102 today, folks.
That's right. I already told him that it's cool. Sunny St. George, cool with the hint of smoke.
That's right.
I just talked to him. He's running it right now.
Awesome.
He is.
Mayor, yeah. Nagi, may I just agree? St. George is such a bright spot in so many ways. We appreciate what's happening on the COVID containment down there and the examples. And Mayor Pike, it's always great to see you when we go down there. So keep up the nice work. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayors. Thank you very much. Now we're going to have our own dear friend, Eileen Behrens, with a beautiful voice to read the comments when posted on our website. Good morning, Eileen. Thank you again doing this. You're the only one can. I can't tell you that much.
Well, good morning, commissioners. My name is Eileen Barron. I'm communications manager for our planning and investment group. This morning, I just want to report on 13 comments that we received since the last meeting. And these comments were all regarding the proposed Provo River Trail extension. I think Ivan has a summary to show you that I'll just walk you through briefly. We do have a link to the complete list of comments, but again, since we had so many emails on the same topic, I'm providing a summary today. But you'll see there is a link to a Google Sheet where you can read each of the individual emails in their original form. So we received 13 comments that express support for funding the proposed 3-mile extension of the Provo River Trail. And the majority of comments address the perceived benefit to the community and quality of life as a result of the proposed trail extension. These comments also addressed health benefits and safety improvements that the project could bring. In addition to residents of Utah and Wasatch counties, a comment was received that identified themselves as representing the Wasatch Trails Foundation and an Orem High School student who is a member of the cross-country team that uses the trail for training. So again, you can see all the original email, the complete text of those in the link there. And I'm going to check your commission inbox one more time just to see if anything else has arrived. Seeing nothing, that's what I have to report on today.
Thank you. Short and sweet. Thank you, Eileen. Okay. We're going to some serious business now. Item number 7 is an agenda as a consent agenda. And I think that Ivan's going to be presenting that and the rest of the program. Ivan?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. First item is our consent agenda item 7, the approval of the minutes and the funding adjustment and award and post-construction. Just be scrolling through this. Our need today is a motion for approval for the consent agenda. I'm going to be able to scroll through a little bit quicker as in the past. The meeting minutes, the draft comments from recorded by Heather, as well as our project returning funds. To our programs.
Chair, this is Commissioner Evans. We've had a chance to review this consent items on that agenda, and I'd move for approval as we have before us.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions, and concerns? I'm not going to call roll call, but you can just, I'm going to ask for the ayes and nays. And on my screen, I can see you. Please leave your microphones on during this presentation. So I will see your voice, your mic, and I will recognize your ayes and nays. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you, Ivans. That is carried.
Thank you. Our next item, and I'm not jumping back to the website, but if you are on the commission web page, under our commission agenda, I've just previously downloaded each one of these links, but right now we're on item 8. You'll see item 8 carries from 8A through 8E that we'll be discussing. Going back to our PDF view, our first item is located in Smithfield. It is the project that Nathan Peterson referenced in his presentation earlier. It's the US 91 Smithfield box culvert repair at milepost 33.9. It is a new project, a transportation solutions project of $2.5 million. This proposed project will remove and replace an existing box culvert that carries Summit Creek through downtown Smithfield and Cache Valley on US 91. A section of concrete has deteriorated that exposed rebar and with a pothole through the top side of the box culvert in the park strip. The Central Structures Division has inspected the box culvert and has determined that the compromised concrete and rebar extends into the shoulder of US 91. This is a general weakening of the box culvert, but does not pose an immediate safety issue on US 91. The region desires to replace the older box culvert before the issues compromise US 91. Storm drain and utility relocations are anticipated, and those estimated costs are included within this estimate. From the presentation located here on Smithfield next to US 91, from the presentation with Nathan, you saw this picture. It was talked about. I'm going to focus in right here where you see the cones. Originally, the maintenance division found this issue, and you can see the grass is dead because they've had this steel plate covering this hole, as you see right here. We'll zoom in. Here you can see the exposed rebar. Zooming in a little bit, you can see the hole that's covered on the park strip side of the culvert box. Being said, our request today is a motion for approval to fund the new project US 91 Smithfield box culvert repair at milepost 33.9 project as detailed above.
This has been excellently described, and I will move for approval.
Kevin will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussions, questions from Ivan? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-1 is carried. Thank you.
Thank you. 8A2, located in the Salt Lake County and Riverton City, is the project 4150 west from Majestic Rise Parkway to 126 south. This is a funding addition of WFRC and local government funding shown here in the table above. The scope of this project is to construct a new 4-lane concrete roadway, including bike lanes, pedestrian trail sidewalks, traffic signals, and a future center running tracks corridor. This project is needed to open development opportunities between 126 South and 134th South, and also provide an alternate north-south option for Bangor Highway and Mountain View corridor. The overall construction costs have increased faster than the original estimate projected. Given this is a connecting segment between 134 South and 126 South, WFRC and Riverton City are requesting to add the necessary funds to the project. Wasatch Front Regional Council approved the scope change at their June 18, 2020 meeting. Located here on our map, you can see here's Bangor Highway here, Mountain View corridor over here. It is a new project. There's two segments on this roadway. This segment here, located with the light blue, this is funded completely by Riverton City. They funded this project. It's under development now. The project we're adding or requesting to add funds is this darker blue section, the WFRC and Riverton City project. Our request today is a motion for approval to add the $1.1 million to the 4150 West from Majestic Rise Parkway to 126 South project as detailed.
I so move. Lou Kramer, Commissioner Kramer.
This is Donna. I'll second.
There's a motion and a second on item 8A-2. Any further discussions, questions, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Item 2 is carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8A3, located on SR 194, I-15 to SR 68 funding addition. The SR 194 I-15 to SR 68 project was scoped to place a new surface to the pavement to reestablish the skid resistance for a safer roadway. During design of the project, the pavement was cored, which revealed an unbonded layer of asphalt that needs to be removed. The application now requires that it be milled 3 inches and new asphalt be placed. The funding addition is coming from our high volume pavement program in Region 3. Located here on our map, this I-15 over here, Redwood Road, SR 68 here. Our request today is a motion for approval to add funds to the SR 194 I-15 to SR 68 project as detailed.
So moved, Commissioner Evans.
Kevin will second.
There's a motion and a second on item number 3. Any questions?
This is
Why
Donna.
did this problem occur?
Oh,
I just-
the same. I have the same question as Lou.
Yeah. How did this come up? This
I will
concern?
phone a friend. I believe I saw Rob Clayton, the Region 3 director, on the line.
The question is, how did this come up?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the treatment was a scheduled treatment for this pavement, and then by normal course of business, we'll go out and do cores just to verify that our treatment is appropriate. And when we did those cores, we found a layer of asphalt below the surface that the asphalt binder had stripped. And when that happens, it creates a weak layer in the asphalt that will move under heavy loading. And so our pavement engineer is recommending that we remove that layer and replace it with a new layer of asphalt.
Rob, is it time or weather or water that causes the strip?
That's a good question. That's a little bit out of my expertise. I'm assuming that it's a materials and methods issue at construction.
Okay. And
Rob,
do you?
This is Matt Parker. Sorry, basically when we went to the PG graded asphalt, it actually.
Matt, sorry. Don't use performance graded asphalt. Give a full description.
Sorry. Sorry. It actually so when we went to that new performance graded asphalt, it allowed us to try to it reduces the chances of us having this problem of stripped asphalt. So the stripped asphalt basically it removes the removes the asphalt no longer binds to the aggregate or the rocks, and it basically creates these ball bearings. And basically, when vehicles go over it, there's ball bearings in the asphalt, and it starts to rut and move, and the asphalt kind of starts to fall apart. So this happens through basically it's a lot of water. When water gets in that asphalt, and then you get it's kind of like as if, remember the old washboards when people would wash clothes, kind of scrubs, and that's kind of what happens with that aggregate. And so it is water, and it's also the movement and everything that's happening under the surface of the pavement.
And do you have any idea how long ago that particular pavement was placed? Is this something we anticipate seeing since we've moved from a different kind of pavement to the performance graded? Did I catch the PG right? Performance?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So is that something that we'll see more of since we found a better product to use?
Actually, we've been seeing a lot less of it since we've gone to the performance graded asphalt. But I think this is out of the ordinary for us because this was built approximately 11, 12 years ago, somewhere around there. So this is not normal and not typical. So I think if we were to look back at maybe some of the tests, we might be able to figure out what happened to this asphalt.
Thank you for answering those questions.
Matt, while you're on the phone, is the performance asphalt different from stone matrix asphalt?
Yes, it is. So PG graded asphalt or performance graded asphalt, it's our typical, we call HMA, and then we go to a stone matrix asphalt, which is, basically it has some smaller aggregate and then larger aggregate, and so it relies on a stone-on-stone contact. Okay. So it kind of locks in everything with that asphalt, and it has more asphalt in it. So it actually is a little bit more expensive. It's a little bit harder to work with, but it does provide more rut resistance, and it seems to last longer. And then it also does not need a surface treatment over the top to give us our skid resistance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just love it when we have all kinds of lifelines to reach out. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of this particular item, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Number 3 is approved.
Thank you. Item 8A4. It's also located in Region 3, US 40, milepost 125.3 to SR 88. It is also a high volume pavement project with an addition of $600,000. This project was originally scoped to mill 2 inches of asphalt and place 3 inches of new asphalt. During the design of this project, pouring of the pavement revealed an asphalt layer that has deteriorated. A new design calls for a 2-inch mill, followed by treating 6 inches of the existing asphalt base to stabilize against future issues. This base is then covered with a 3.5-inch new asphalt layer. Located here on our map, west of Gusher on US 40. Our request is the approval to add funds to the US 40 milepost 125.3 to SR 88 project as detailed.
So if I may, this is the new structure that we've got going through Gusher. This will connect from that on over to the 88 then. That's where that's laying.
That's right.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Van Tassel would move for approval.
Thank you.
I'd second. This is Commissioner Evans.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, item number 4 as presented. Any further discussions, questions, concerns?
Oh, hi.
Go ahead, please.
Well, so we just talked about performance grade asphalt, and then this talks about treating 6 inches of asphalt.
Just the base.
Just the base. Can we take like 30 seconds and tell me what treating means?
Yes. I can take that one, Ivan. In this case, what we do is we'll actually mill up that asphalt, but instead of removing it, we leave it in place and treat it with some cement, a cement product, and then that helps to it reacts chemically with that base material, and it helps to harden it and add structural stability to the pavement.
Cool. Thank you.
Rob, what kind of shelf life you get out of this treatments? 5 years, 7 years?
I'm not sure. Anybody on the call that knows the answer to that question? I'll have to get back with you on that one.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
No problem. So any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item number 4 is approved.
Thank you. Next item, 8A5 in Region 4. This is the I-15 wildlife fencing project from milepost 82 to milepost 95. This is a funding addition, transportation solutions funding of $515,000 additional dollars. The scope of this project is to add wildlife fencing to each side of the interstate and improve cattle guards and interchange ramps. Region 4 presented and received approval for this project in January 2020 commission meeting. This project is now ready to advertise, and the design estimate determined funding to be inadequate for the entire scope of the project. The concept estimate underestimated the cost of steel in the fence and cattle guards. Region 4 discussed the budget issue with the Division of Wildlife Resources and looked at possibilities to scale back the project. Ultimately, to meet the goal to close this gap on I-15 and protect the traveling public, it was determined to continue with the proposed scope and to add this additional funding. On the map, north of Paragona on I-15.
This is Donna, and I move to approve, and that's pronounced Paraguna.
Yeah.
Just so you know, and sound like a local.
I second. Commissioner Kramer seconds both of those comments. The motion and the
and thank you. And by doing this, you're saving 2 of your commissioners coming from Southern Utah in the future, because that's the most important segment of the I-15 that has all kinds of animals, including prairie dogs.
Oh, we would have to bring that up.
I'm sorry, Donna. Any other questions, concerns regarding this particular project? And thank heaven for the Transportation Solution Fund, huh?
Yes.
Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item 5 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8A6, also in Region 4. This is the item that Mayor Pike discussed. It is the SR 18 South Bluff Pedestrian Tunnel. It's a new project. It's the Transportation Alternatives Project in combination with the local funds from St. George City. St. George City is requesting UDOT's partnership to fund a pedestrian tunnel under SR 18, which is Bluff Street, just north of the I-15 SR 18 interchange. There are more than 30,000 vehicles a day that use Bluff Street at this location. A series of pathways lead to the intersection of Main Street and Bluff Street. This leaves pedestrians using this location to cross at the intersection. We'll show you the map below. And undercrossing is a priority of St. George City to provide additional opportunities for cyclists and pedestrians to commute into the business districts of St. George. So located on our map here, this is I-15, Bluff Street, the north side. This is a visualization that shows the bike trails and the connectivity that we have. You can see how it comes up here, it connects the north end into the south along the river. Zooming in a little bit, this is the proposed view. Here's Main Street, Bluff Street. You can see this existing pathway here that goes along, and the existing bike path, or the pedestrian trail here, and they both come up to this intersection and cross. The design will be to change the trails, adding a trail connection here, the tunnel underneath SR 18, and connect down here to the trail continuing south. Included in our packet is a letter from St. George City requesting this project and agreeing to participate at a 50% rate. And our request today is a motion for approval to add the SR 18 South Bluff Ped Tunnel to the 2020 STIP as detailed.
Commissioner Barlow moves for approval.
Commissioner Van Tassel seconds it with a comment that all the work that we've done in this area, this truly completes that area and makes things a lot safer, it appears to me.
Well,
And this is Commissioner Evans. Anytime we can match and work in partnership to come up with local funds and our funds, it's just a win-win day. So this is wonderful. Thanks, Mayor, for, as you mentioned earlier, for helping to support this. It's a great partnership.
And for a bit of geography, as this particular intersection is just a stone throw from my office. I travel this intersection many times a day, and I've seen the bottleneck of the ped crossing, bikes crossing, and causing traffic congestion. So this will be really, and since last tour that commission had in Southern Utah, we have had Maverick in that intersection. Office buildings just popping up 4-story right now in the corner, southwest corner. And so that is really needed. And thanks to City of St. George Mayor's effort, it just warms my heart. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner.
I find it interesting too that this is maybe the third tunnel that has come about during my time, and it seems to be that that's something that really is working for the community, and that's pretty exciting as well.
That is, and that 400 South underpass that Mayor spoke about, that has really been utilized by students from both sides of campus, the hospital, nurses, doctors, and of course of residents of St. George. The day we had the ribbon cutting there, we had about 250 people on the block just ready to use it.
That's great.
So thank you. So we have a motion and a second on item number 6. Any further discussions, questions, concerns? And again, thank you, Mayor, for contribution.
Thank you.
Okay. Who had a question? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 6 is approved.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item, 8A7, very similar to the last. This one located in Sevier County between Salina and Redmond. Is also a transportation alternatives project for Region 4. Sevier County has requested UDOT's partnership in funding a multi-use path along SR 256 and US 89 from Salina to Redmond. The length of the proposed path is approximately 3 miles. This location is part of the Sevier County's bike plan in the northern part of the county. The existing shoulders are 2 feet or less, and vehicles are traveling 55 miles per hour next to these shoulders. Adding a multi-use path would be a significant improvement to the safety of this route and is consistent with the vision of the county to provide connectivity to communities. Located here on our map, Salina up into Redmond. This is 89 here. An image here, you can see the shoulders, the width of these shoulders. Currently, it's anticipated the multi-use path would be on this left side of our picture here. We also have included in our packet is the match letter. Our request today is a motion for approval to the SR 256 US 89 Salina to Redmond multi-use path project to the 2020 STIP as detailed.
I move to approve. This is Donna.
I second. This is Lou, and I just wanted to add that Salina continues to be viewed as one of the real hubs for development in the 6-county area. We've seen a lot of interest in that. So this is exciting, and congratulations again, Rick, and everybody else. Katie, thank you.
Thank you.
So that was a second and commentary.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions? Again, this will be favored also to Rick Torgerson. He walks in that neighborhood every day. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 7 is approved as stated.
Thank you. Our next item, 8A8, is the I-15 parapet replacements near Beaver. It's a Transportation Solutions Fund addition of $800,000 to an existing project. The scope of this project is to replace and repair deteriorated parapets, approach concrete barriers, and repair of structural columns on 8 bridges near Beaver. This project was bid on June of this year, June 2nd of this year, with 3 bidders and was awarded to the lowest bidder. Unfortunately, the low bidder has had significant financial and staffing challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic and is no longer in a position to construct the project. The contractor has requested to withdraw their bid, which UDOT has reviewed and accepted. UDOT proposes to award the project to the next lowest bidder. $800,000 is the difference between the 2 bids and the estimated construction contingency for this project. Located on our map here, see on I-15, just west of Beaver. The request today is a motion for approval to add funds to the I-15 parapet replacement near Beaver project as detailed.
Commissioner Barlow moves for approval.
Donna second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 8. Any other questions, concerns? For those of us cannot travel to Logan to have the Aggie ice cream, can we have a bridge over to connect us to Creamery directly? As in the Beaver?
I think there is one right there, Nagi. I stopped there just last week. So
I know, but you have to go either 2 miles up or 2 miles south in order to get there. You have to go through the loops and hoops. Any questions?
I just have
Seeing
one
none.
question.
Go ahead, please. Commissioner Evans, did you have a question?
I did. I just wanted to make sure. I'm sorry if I was talking to somebody else. I, mentioned on this that the contractor, due to the COVID and contractor or probably employees help wasn't able to do this. We had many other projects. I don't need to know the names, but in the state that had the same outcome where the contractors have said, we just can't do this, or this just may be one of the few that's happened to.
Jason or Chris?
So unless Chris jumps in. So we, when this started to happen, we reached out to our contractors and said, hey, we're willing to allow you some additional time to complete your project. We haven't had this exact thing happen on a project, Commissioner, but we have reached out and asked if any of our projects would require additional time due to staffing impacts or materials delivery impacts, and with the caveat that if they chose to do that, they would no longer be eligible for an early completion bonus. And my knowledge, we only had one contractor that chose to put that into place. The rest of our contractors all said, you know what, we can challenge a pandemic and beat it and still get our projects done early. So we've got a great partnership and a great group of contractors out there that are figuring out ways to get by this and get it done. So
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item number 8 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item, 8A9, is an informational item. It's a new transportation solutions project for $150,000 along US 40, pavement repair between Bridgeland and Mighton. Two isolated areas of pavement, I'll scroll down and show the map. Two isolated areas of pavement started to severely rut over this past winter and spring. The areas were cored and found to have 4 inches of deteriorated asphalt, beginning 4 inches below the surface of the asphalt. Region 3 proposes to mill and replace 8 inches of asphalt. The work would be completed prior to winter. This project was approved previously, and this is an informational item for the commission. It was approved due to the value of the project. Our next item, 8B, this is the Recreational Trails Program. Remember from last year at this time, we presented the Rec Trails Program with the Division of Natural Resources. The Recreational Trails Program was authorized in Congress of 91 as part of the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act. The act established the Recreational Trails Program funding and the Federal Recreational Trails Trust Fund. The Recreational Trails Program grants are available for non-motorized and motorized trail projects. This program was continued through current authorization. These projects were selected and administered through the Utah State Parks and Recreation Division. Funds may be used to provide and maintain recreational trails for motorized and non-motorized recreational trail uses, including trailside and trailhead facilities. It includes provisions to facilitate access for people with disabilities as well. For the 2021 program, Utah has 44 projects totaling $2.2 million in federal funding and 2.6 of sponsors matching funds for a total just over 4.8 million in new project value. Our contact is Chris Haller. I've also seen that he's also on the call if there's questions that he's available to answer. Included in this is the 2021 Recreational Trails Program list. There's a couple of projects from pictures from previous projects you can see. Informational item that will be included in the draft STIP for public comment that would be presented back to the commission in August for approval. And included in this list, sorted by the 2 categories, there was 56 applications, 12 are not recommended by the council, 1 motorized and 11 non-motorized. Starting with our motorized projects, we have it listed with the sponsor, the total project value, and the Recreational Trails Program funding. So this would be the federal funding to the program. Scrolling through the 20 motorized, then we have a list showing our non-motorized projects. Beginning here with our non-motorized, with the same layout, the project sponsor, the total project value, and the Recreational Trails Program, the funding, the federal funding that would be included on the project. At the bottom of the program, or this project list, we did include the list of applications that were received that were not selected for funding. Next page here. That being said, before we move to our next item, if there's any questions.
Ivan, at this time, I would like to recognize our dear friend Chris, because we have two new commissioners that I have not met him in person. So Chris, would you please introduce yourself officially and tell us if you
Absolutely.
have challenges during the COVID-19 and what is upcoming during these challenges, please. It is good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you as well, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, commissioners and UDOT staff for allowing me some time to talk today. Yeah, COVID has challenged us a little bit. We have had some requests for extensions on projects that were awarded in 2018. 3 so far out of the ones that were awarded in 2018. I might also go back, since we are talking about 2018, to Nathan's presentation at the very beginning of the commission meeting, in which we partnered with UDOT on the Blacksmith Fort Canyon Trail that was funded. So that ties in that connectivity from local communities for access to our public lands and health and wellness. So I want to thank Ivan for working with me on this. I know we had some challenges. Looking forward and hopefully someday seeing each of you in person, and I'm wishing you good health to you and your families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Are you standing up or sitting down, Chris? You're taller than I've seen last year.
I am standing up, and thank you. Ironically, since we've been directed to try to work from home for the most part, I do a lot more standing now and less sitting, unless I'm in the field traveling to and from. So thank you. You look well, my friend.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for being with us today again.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
So there are 11 projects. Did I understand that correct? 12 projects that did not, that were not recommended by the councils. Is there a general reason why they weren't? Is it a budget restriction, or does more work need to be done, or they didn't have the matching funds, or can you kind of give me an idea of what the general problems with those were?
Absolutely, Commissioner. You nailed it on the head. A combination of all of those items you mentioned is, obviously we would value trying to be able to fund all 56 applications received, but as most of you are aware of, the funds are limited. We've actually, this past year and in previous years, we typically receive about 1.4 million, but because of some projects coming underfunded and construction costs being low, we've been able to roll that additional funding over, in which I've been presented that we have over $2 million this year to award. So that's a great thing. In regards to that, it also affects 24 counties out of the 29 across the state. And so some applications were incomplete. Some applications had challenges in there. For the most part, most of them were just not able to fund because we didn't have enough funding.
That's great. Thank you for that answer. I too always look forward to when you come to our meeting and present these options and improvements in our communities all across the state.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. That is greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Chris. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. Thank you.
And if I can, just for a brief second, I think it does talks about a testament to the way that this program's been handled. This year, the funding amount was just shy of $1.5 million. So we were able to take almost $700,000 of funding that had been, the projects had come in under budget. We were able to reutilize that funding within the Recreational Trails program and push that forward. So it really has been run in an efficient manner.
Okay. Thank you.
Item 8C is, for the last couple of months, we've looked at the, excuse me, the 2021 to 2025, the ASIP, the Statewide Airport Capital Improvement Program, presented by Jared Esselman, our Aeronautics Director. And we've seen this same verbiage come through each year. The Division of Aeronautics
Whoa. Woo.
Jared, stop your drone. Playing with your drone.
Sorry, it just buzzed right over our heads.
Located in our packet, we do have a list of the projects that we've been discussing for the next 5 years by airport funding type that was presented. Our request today, and if there's any questions, we'll take those. But our request for today is a motion for approval of the 5-year 2021 to 2025 statewide airport capital improvement program.
Before you vote, commissioners, notice that there's the 2 notes on Jared's presentation. Note 1, FY 2020. Jared, you want to talk those 2 notes?
I would if I could see the notes. Ivan, are you presenting?
Yes, he is.
So I don't see anything from Ivan.
Okay. Maybe I just should read it. It says, Note 1, FY 2020 federal funds will not require local match per the recently passed CARES Act. This will save the state and local entities funds that can be used in other needs. And note number 2 says no changes have been made from May draft. So is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So both of those are correct, and I will speak to both of those. We did save about $580 some odd thousand dollars from the CARES Act because we didn't have to meet our local match for the 2020 AIP projects. There is in the current bill, the current transportation infrastructure funding bill in the House, they are looking to repeat that for 2021. So there is a potential that we will again save that local match for 2021. So that's encouraging. Also, you're correct. This has no changes from last month when we presented it. Although I do want to say that the Utah Airport Operators Association has canceled their fall conference, which also canceled our joint planning committee meetings. So we may have a few changes to the ACIP intermittently throughout the year. And we'll have to discuss how we bring those to the commission, whether they're one-offs or whether we bring a package later in the year. But there are no changes on this approval.
Thank you. Any questions from Jared or Ivans regarding this number C?
Commissioner Barlow moves for approval.
Okay.
Commissioner Van Tassel seconds.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion and a second. Item 8C. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item C is approved. Thank you. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Forgive me, I'm going to quickly scroll through the list of projects on the airport capital plan.
There's a lot there.
Yes.
There's a lot there. It's amazing.
Don't read and drive at the same time.
Okay. Our next item is 8D. Each year, the Rural Transit Group presents the statewide rural transit program for the Commission for inclusion into the draft STIP. The statewide rural transit program is a planning level summary of projects and cost estimates of both FTA and state-funded projects. Note, fiscal year 2020, federal funds will not require a local match per the recently passed CARES Act. This will save the state and local entities monies that can be used on other current needs. In our packet, if you take the packet from our Granicus from the agenda, my pages are a bit out of order, and I apologize. So I'm going to scroll backwards. The top 4 pages above it is actually our FTA Transit Program Award. So this is our 2021 to 2025 program. So I apologize. It's out of order rather than coming after the fact sheet. Included in this packet, this is the 2021 program year by recipients and fund type across the top, the small, urban, and rural by program. Our next page is the 2022 program year. And the recipients, you'll notice that there are some lines that as you look across, they're blank. We carried the same list of our sub-recipients, our transit sub-recipients through the program. We carried those straight across. So some recipients will not receive funding in every year. Next page is our 2023 program. So we have 3 years, 21, 22, and 23 identified with recipients. And our 24 and 25 year, we have not yet selected or received, completed a call for applications and selected those 2 out years. Again, this is a informational item. This will be included in our draft STIP, and comments will be brought to the commission in August. Our last item, our programming items for today, item 8E. This is the draft fiscal year, draft 2021-2026 statewide transportation and improvement program, the STIP, for release for comment. Our background, approval to release the draft 2021-2026 STIP for public comment. The draft 21-2026 statewide transportation improvement program has been prepared and summarized to reflect guidance and suggestions resulting from region priorities in the March and April commission workshops. Upon approval for release, public notice will be posted through the Utah Media Group, and the draft will be placed on the UDOT's website. I'll navigate to this in just a second and show you. A formal public comment period begins on 24 June 2020 and extends through 8 August 2020. The draft STIP can be sorted by county and region. A link to submit public comments will be provided on the UDOT website. The draft STIP will be brought back to the transportation for approval in August, along with any comments received. Our request today is a motion for approval to release the draft fiscal year 2021-2026 STIP for public comment. Before we take that, I'd like to navigate to our UDOT web page here. And right under the front page, here's our draft STIP available for public comment. And the STIP information comment. This link provides downloads that are available and the comment submission. There it is. Our public comment opens up and provides an opportunity for individuals to comment their suggestions or ideas, comments, and then provide contact information if they'd like to receive a response.
Is that usually viewed as enough time for public comments? Are there ever any criticism saying didn't have enough time to get my action in? It's the middle of summer. I'm just curious.
Commissioner Kramer, I have not heard that comment in the past. I know that our public comment period actually is longer than the federal mandate. Our federal mandate requires a 30-day submittal. And you'll notice our public comment period lasts a little bit longer than that. We try to expand it to allow as much time as possible from the time of the commission to give us enough time to receive those public comments, do any analysis, basically take those comments, prepare them for submittal back to the commission the second week of August when we have our commission meeting.
It does seem like enough time, and people who care about this will know where to go and do it. I'm just curious if anyone's ever complained. I worry about the little Cottonwood Canyon thing, and with all the the fervor around it. This does not stimulate quite the public response that might, but it seems to me like it's plenty of a time, and I support that, of course. But just curious if you've had complaints. Thank you.
One additional comment I'd make. This on our UDOT web page, the public comment link that we're accepting those public comments. We actually do not take that public comment link down during the year. That public comment, it is always available on our UDOT webpage. It's there year round. We receive those public comments. Typically, we get about one comment a month, maybe on average, and then that comment gets directed to the region. That if it was a specific comment, gets directed to the region. So we do use this forum available all year round. It does not receive a lot of use, but it is available.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add to that.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I think it's important for us to remember that we're in this, what we call STIP cycle. And so these projects that are contained within this draft STIP have been discussed basically starting with the region STIP workshops that some of you get the opportunity to attend. They were part of our commission workshop meetings that we had. And all of that information is available continually throughout this last 6-month period of time. So there's nothing in this draft STIP that people haven't heard or seen over this last 6 months. So Commissioner Kramer, I look at this next period, this formal public comment period, as just that. This is the formal portion of it. And if we've done a good job prior to this, then I think most of those comments have probably been heard and hopefully resolved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos.
I just am so proud of how transparent UDOT has made all of this. There's every once in a while I get a question and I'm like, well, let's go look at the website. And the fact that it's all there is just really very impressive. So thanks for the effort to inform our Utah public as transparently as possible.
Yeah, every time we vote, we're spending their money, and we have a sacred stewardship and commitment.
That's
It's
right.
great to have it covered. Thank you.
And your own money too. That's not just theirs, all of us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Ivans, you want to state your motion?
Yes, please. Our request today is a motion for approval to release the draft fiscal year 2021, 2026 STIP for public comment.
So moved, Commissioner Evans.
Commissioner Barlow, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second from 2 people. Any other further questions and concerns or comments on the STIP? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item number 8E is approved.
Hey, Chair, can I make a comment?
Yes,
I
please.
think obviously Carlos's comments will be in the minutes, but boy, we have to take that statement along with what Lou said and put that right there under the public comment section. I mean, it has been discussed and it's out there and we've worked and so this is kind of the formal thing, but boy, I hope people will realize that there's a lot that's been going on, as Donna said, for transparency. So whatever we can do to highlight, circle his comment and put it there, that was a good one that people need to realize.
Oh, that's a good point, Jim.
Thank you. I think, Ivans, you're done for the day. You can rest your voice. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Commission. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Item number 9, corridor preservation, is going to be presented by Charles Stormont. We haven't seen that guy for I don't know how many ages. So welcome back, Charles.
Good afternoon or good morning, commissioners. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, great. I've asked Ivan to let me drive, so I'm going to pull up my screen right now. Bear with me for a moment, please.
May Commissioner Barlow and I say that because we serve on the Corridor Preservation Committee, we know how hard Charles and his team is working, even when we don't see him. So much appreciated, Charles.
I really appreciate that, Commissioner Kramer. The folks that are on my staff have weathered some very difficult times in incredibly seamlessly, and I couldn't be prouder to be part of this team. Diane is obviously one of our rock stars, but I've got an incredible staff across the board working on a variety of things. So thank you for that comment, Commissioner.
I'll second the comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Barlow.
And good morning, Diane. I can see your face. A smile. You're on the camera.
You can't see the picture of her holding a fish in the background. That's the one comment we make about Diane with some regularity.
Oh, wow.
Are you able to see the revenue sheet that I've pulled up? Okay, great. It has been a while. I think we last spoke about corridor preservation in December when we had a balance. We've been building our balance, working on a large transaction, and that's the transaction that I'll present to you in a moment. We've been able to build the balance up to just a hair under $21 million. I will note that the motor vehicle rental tax revenue has not surprisingly decreased significantly from the $400,000 to $600,000 range that we had gotten used to seeing. The most recent figures for the month of May are $161,000, which we obviously believe is tied to the downturn in travel and COVID-related rental issues. We do continue to manage our property well and have sustained solid revenue there. Expenses are, I think, fairly standard. I don't know if you have any questions there, but I'd be happy to answer them. When you put it all together, we have a fund balance of just over $21 million, 21.2. The next item you'll note is the pending fund reimbursement from West Davis Corridor. This is part of their planning process for every project. They have actually completed this reimbursement. You'll note the budget sheet is from the end of May. So these funds are now available for the Corridor Preservation Fund. I will add that the project manager for the West Davis Corridor thinks that I'm done asking for him to reimburse, but they still owe us a little bit of money to the fund. But I really appreciate their willingness to work with us to facilitate this as they continue forward with their project. I'm going to really quickly pull up a different tool. Diane has been working hard as we've been saving to get other transactions that you have approved closed. So you'll notice this funds obligated list is a little bit smaller than normal. We still have $2.5 million of obligated funds that have not yet closed, but she is working on those. Putting all of that together would leave us a fund balance of $38.7 million. And the item that we'll discuss in a moment involves a transaction just over $33.3 million. If that were approved, we would wind up with a balance in the fund of just over $5.3 million. Do the commissioners have any questions about our fund balance?
Charles, it's Donna. My only question would be, do you have any concern about the balance being that low, or is that workable as you eyeball what's coming down the track the next few months?
We always have more demands on the Corridor Preservation Fund than we are able to meet, but we are doing our very best to balance and prioritize to make sure that we are pursuing the transactions that provide the greatest savings to the department. I think the transaction you'll see in a moment, you'll see how that is a prime example of just how we do that. We also try to address hardships as they come up, particularly residential units. To say that we always have enough money to do everything that we do, I think department-wide we never do, but we are managing it and addressing the needs of each of the regions. Diane and the rest of my staff does a great job staying in touch with each of the folks in the regions about where do we need to focus our efforts. We have options. Where do we need to say no? Where can we say yes? And so we're constantly balancing that. I would add the advisory council that reviews our transactions, on which Commissioners Kramer and Barlow serve. together with representatives of the various metropolitan planning organizations from across the state, help us do that as well. So we're able to take local interests into account as we're doing it. And so I think we're doing a pretty good job. We'd always love more money, but you know, this is the fund that we are afforded, and so we manage it appropriately.
That's great. Thank you for that explanation.
And
Sure
I
thing.
believe that we're still the only state that has such a fund.
That's
Is
correct,
that right,
Commissioner
Charles?
Barlow. Every time I talk to a right-of-way team from another state and I tell them about this, they say, "How do you do it?" And I really, it's a single statute and a couple of rules. It's a fairly simple fund. Obviously, you have to have the funding source to do it, but we are the envy of every right-of-way team across the country that knows about it. If there aren't any other questions, I'll move on to item 9, the request we have for you today. And as is our custom, I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. The purchase that we are proposing today has been reviewed by our Corridor Preservation Advisory Council and recommended to you for approval. What we are proposing is to acquire this area B is approximately 24 acres. That is, that's what we need for the future phase of Mountain View Corridor. We are also proposing to purchase a very large remnant, 90.5 acres, give or take, to the west of Mountain View, of the future phase of Mountain View. We are not proposing to acquire the remnants to the east, these C parcels. The values in this area, our appraiser has concluded approximately $295,000 an acre. So the way that works out is the B area that we need for the corridor is approximately $7.1 million. The large remnant at 90.5 acres is significant. Its value in the before condition was put at $26.4 million. And we are asking to expend those funds on that remnant. The reason for that is the appraiser concludes that when the corridor comes through, this large remnant will be significantly damaged. Included 60% damages, just under $16 million of damages to that parcel. A combination of loss of access because of the corridor and challenges with extension of utilities for the type of development that would be ideal in this location. The property is already zoned for a planned community. Lehigh City has a fairly flexible zoning designation on this, which gives the developer a lot of options. They are planning a mix of residential and retail for this area. They have indicated they're ready to go. We work with Boyer and Ivory, who are in partnership with the Holbrook family, who owns this ranching area, to develop the land. And so we have been in a lot of communication with them about this proposed transaction to try and get out in front of that imminent development. I couldn't tell you what it would cost us to purchase this property if we allowed it to develop, but I am confident in saying it would be many multiples of what we are asking you to spend today. It would depend on what they ultimately did, but the growth in this area, we know that there's significant demand for what they would like to do. And so getting out in front of this development, we feel is very beneficial to the state. One other fact that I think is very important, we don't always buy remnant pieces that are damaged. We often discuss that with the landowner and ask if they want to keep it in the damaged condition or not, in which case we would pay just the damages caused as opposed to the full value of it. The landowner here has indicated that they are not willing to do a transaction if we do not purchase the entire damaged piece to the west. So it's a take it or leave it situation with the landowner. One other, I pulled up a larger, a zoomed out map of this area that I wanted to share with you to try and give a sense of where this sits relative to a lot of other things we have going on. So I'm going to highlight for you, in this area, we have the southern end of the first phase of Mountain View Corridor and Porter Rockwell Boulevard, which we are in the process of building the Porter Rockwell Bridge, which will tie up into Bluffdale and into Bangor Highway. The parcel that we're talking about is in this area, and you can see that it will connect into the most recently opened phase of Mountain View Corridor, as well as 2100 South, which connects into the southern end of the technology corridor. This is one of my favorite parts of my work. I'm not a planner, and I don't know how these guys figure out how to do this so well, but you can see all of this work coming together with this proposed transaction. And just again, to highlight it, we would then tie into Pioneer Crossing here that heads off to the east and reconnects into I-15, as well as SR-73, which we've been doing a fair amount of corridor preservation work on. And so you can see where this sits and why we feel it's an important acquisition to get out in front of. I would note on the damaged remnant, I don't want to go into a lot of detail because we're still in negotiation with the federal government who owns the property to the north. They have expressed a lot of interest in that parcel, and so we are going to work on a trade with them for additional land that we will need that they own in this area. And we're also in discussions with Camp Williams about a trade that would facilitate acquiring a lot of this land. So we have discussions in the works. I hope sometime in the next year to bring those trades to you for approval, which would bring us a very long way in securing right-of-way for this future phase of Mountain View Corridor. The request that we have for you today is to purchase approximately 114 acres from the entity that we would purchase from is Holbrook West LLC, which is an entity created by the Boyer and Ivory Partnership along with the Holbrook family to purchase that approximately 114 acres for $33,383,675. I recognize that is, I believe that's the largest request we have ever made for this type of corridor preservation work. But I hope I have demonstrated why it makes sense for the state and the department to pursue this. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Charles, perhaps Commissioner Barlow and I ought to say a word or two about this. If I just might do that, we have the privilege of serving on that advisory council, as Charles mentioned. It's always exciting to see this because we are planning ahead. May I just say, as you saw on the map, the big map, there is just absolutely no other location where we can put the Mountain View Corridor, and this is critical to that. And on this week, the monthly meetings we have, we were always looking toward saving this big chunk of money up because we knew this was coming, and we knew we had to get the opportunity to make it happen. And the ability to make some trades down the road with other entities around the way for all of these 3 or 4 reasons, we are very supportive of that. We've been through this as an advisory council, and Charles has spent endless hours getting this to where we are now. So I just want to say, it's a big amount of money, but it's a lot less than we're going to pay in the future if we're going to make this corridor work. So it's critical for what we're doing, and I'm very supportive of it. And Commissioner Barlow, you're the wise man on the group. Maybe you wanted to say a word. I just jumped in because that's what I do.
Well, I agree, and I second what Commissioner Kramer is saying, and it's the whole point of corridor preservation, and that's exactly the purpose and the reason for this acquisition.
Well, with that, if no one else has questions of Commissioner Barlow and me, given our responsibilities, I'm going to make a motion that we approve this purchase so that we can get this corridor done.
And I will second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, and thank you, Charles, for the lengthy explanation. We needed that to recognize to see why spending that kind of money on the portion of the land that we may not use at this point. But it was really essential. You can see they're connecting several different arteries of the state, and we're gonna need that. Thank you for that explanation.
My pleasure.
Any other questions from Charles? Anything?
No, I just appreciate the fact that this goes through the committee before it comes to us, so that any questions can be vetted, with our good commissioners Kramer and Barlow.
Right.
So I'm ready to vote.
Okay. And I did talk to Natalie about this informally, given the fact that it's such a big deal. And Natalie, Commissioner Gochner authorized me to say that she's in support of it as well, just given the amount and the critical position this is in. So I just wanted to add that as well. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you for that. So all in favor of this project, as stated and explained by Charles, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9A is approved, Charles.
Thank you very much, commissioners. And Lou gave me a lot of credit, but I have to mention that there are probably a dozen people on this meeting right now that helped us figure out how to make this work. And I very much appreciate the work of Ivan and Ben and Dave Schwartz and Diane and Jason and Chris and Carlos, as well as each of you to make this possible. So thank you for all of your support.
Thank you. Charles, before you go, how's your shoulder? Can we have set up a match for the racquetball?
You may need to give me a few more months. There's slow, but very slow progress. It's getting better, but it's still not there yet. I can throw a baseball. I just can't throw it very hard.
Well, I'll wait for you to give me the jingle. Thank you.
After today's meetings, it's raspberry milkshakes that solve any and all problems.
All right, next item. I'm sure you've seen this item before. I don't know how many times, and you know the person who's going to present. So there we go again, Ben. If you change the acronym, it's going to be a CPR, but it's not. It's a CPP something. So go ahead, please.
We may have to work on that. Thank you, commissioners and Mr. Chair. So I'm going to have Ivan help me once again on this presentation for project prioritization. And you're absolutely correct. We've talked about this one before. Largely, I just wanted to we talked about it yesterday again and wanted to do a recap of that yesterday conversation and talk a little bit about the annual review of the prioritization process and public comment process for that. So Ivan, if you could bring up the slides for this presentation. So on the next slide. So as we stated yesterday and we discussed, we worked this past year to develop and implement the new process, the prioritization process. And I think from the get-go, one of the goals was to be able to continuously improve this process, look at lessons learned, look at different data, better data, different ways to look at the data, and then also to like it's been mentioned a couple times in this meeting, to do that in a transparent way. So the two excerpts that I've included from the administrative rule here are to those goals. And one is that the commission will review the written prioritization process annually. And the second part of that is that the commission will call for and hear public input on the prioritization process during that review. So that's kind of that sets the stage for what we talked about yesterday and why we want to have this review and how we'll do it. So on the next slide, this is another recap item from yesterday. This slide, it shows on the top, it shows the months October through May from last year, and then on the bottom, it's the same months and some of the items this year, or as we're currently thinking about it. Because one of the things that we heard and that we ran into is there was a very short window last year for the nomination portion of this process when you came to the ability to nominate projects, local governments and districts. And that was, a lot of that was driven by the putting into effect the administrative rule and going through the rulemaking process, and that kind of led us to the end of November to be able to open up that process. So the main point of this, as we discussed yesterday, this slide is to show that we're currently thinking our goal is to try to open that up a little bit longer and have that nomination period start right after the October commission meeting. So it'll allow for a little bit more time and allow for that process to flow a little bit better this year. So that was the main discussion points around this. And then if you'll go to the next slide. So how do we get to October to be able to open that up? This is our current draft, and I'll just kind of walk through this very briefly to meet the annual review and the public comments. If you look, here we are in June, and we would propose to open up the public comment period in June here through online means. And then as you walk from June to August, that would be a perfect time for our planning division to do some listening meetings with internal UDOT, as we discussed yesterday, some of the regions, or all of the regions, not just some of the regions. And then external stakeholder listening meetings, MPO partners, transit agencies, and some of the other groups that we coordinated with during the development of this process. That would lead to August, and we would target the presentation of those public comments gathered and the comments from the listening meetings at the August commission meeting. We would also like to have an opportunity for anybody to make a comment at that August commission meeting if they so desire through the normal commission public comment process, and we could take that into consideration. Then if you step forward from August, take what we've heard, what we've talked about, and hopefully be able to present some recommendations if there are any updates to the process in the September time period. And then per the practice and process that we have, we would then the following month recommend or request approval of those any process updates that we would develop during that time period. So that's kind of hopefully that sets a stage for how and why the schedule is proposed as shown here for this annual review. Are there any questions up to this point on any of this or anything that we talked about yesterday? So if not, then if you go to the next slide, Ivan, as far as the collection of those comments that we talked about, if you can click through to that Go link, that takes us to the project prioritization website on the UDOT website. And right there at the top, we put that on there yesterday to prepare for the meeting that we had staff update yesterday. That would be the place to make a public comment on the prioritization process. And I think there's a couple of questions in there related to, we talked yesterday about a couple of different ways to look at the any potential comments or changes on the process. One being on the document or the model that lays out the data and the criteria weighting, and then the other being some general process updates. I know that we've got a lot of ideas or questions on how to clarify some things during the nomination process. That was one thing that we did here over this past year, and there's already some ideas on how we may be able to provide some better information on questions that came up for the nomination process. So that was general. That was a pretty quick recap of what we talked about yesterday and hopefully a kickoff. I guess one last thing is during that, obviously during the time period that we've laid out, we would definitely be open to any meeting with any commissioner one-on-one or going through anything with the document, the models, any other general questions that anybody's got. I think that was mentioned yesterday. So always happy to do that.
Any question from Ben?
I guess one last thing, Ivan, apologize, but if you'll jump back to the prioritization website. Ivan's great at dealing with curveballs all day. So I guess I would just point out at the bottom, if you scroll down, one thing, I'll just, if I may, take this opportunity that we did post the approved funding for both the Transportation Investment Fund and the Transit Transportation Investment Fund at the bottom. So scroll down to the May 2020. It's up at the top of those. Yeah, right there. So that's kind of the culmination of last year's process. And I can't help but mention with there was a definite emphasis today on active transportation, and the past couple meetings on the public comment. That's the approved TIF funding is where the Provo Canyon Trail project is listed as approved. That was in the original recommendations and approved by the commission. So that's I just wanted to point out that those are, we've uploaded those to the website to maintain that continuity of how the process went last year. And I guess go Aggies, just for the theme of today. So I'd like to add that also.
Way to go.
Thank you. So, Commission, you heard about the new design of the UDOT website. I encourage every one of you to go and play with it and see what the sites are. And while you're doing that, I also encourage you to read the newsletter that they send out. UDOT newsletter is full of educational and motivational articles. I particularly like the section about innovation. Did you know that Region 2 had designed a system that could prevent from the kleptomaniac from stealing the generators? State system. It's just and they can have portable trucks so they can have to wash and sanitize their hands. And that is only can happen in the state of Utah. But I would like to really express my love and appreciation on behalf of Commission for the UDOT everywhere in the region, 1 through 4, for their families. They allowing us, these people, to work so hard in the state highway system to save lives and prepare all the potholes and bridges and culverts and all that's necessary for us to travel safely from south to north, from east to west. Thank you for doing that. Carlos, I would like to ask your opinion about the new fuel card for the state. Anything that you can share with us?
On the new fuel card you asked?
Huh?
Oh, well, so UDOT employees, when they're driving a state vehicle, and this is all state employees, when you're driving a state vehicle, there's a state fuel network. And the state fuel network, it's under the division or under the Department of Administrative Services. They administer that network. They just changed the fuel card that we use. So some of us we had a fuel card number that we memorized. I've had that number for probably 35 years. And all of a sudden now they're saying, we don't need that number anymore and use this number. And so when you go and fill up at these places, you have to enter your odometer reading and you have to enter your state number. And it's been automatic for so long, and now I have another number, and so it's a big change for maybe people of my advanced whining stage. But it seems to be working. So things that change seem the same, I guess.
If I may offer an alternative solution, if you drive an electric car, you don't need the fuel card. So that might be easier.
Okay. And also, I was in the committee with the Kate Roberts recently, and he had a black mask on. What's up with that? Why not orange? Isn't that a UDOT color?
Yeah, so here, these are the UDOT masks. It has our logo. There's a little bit of orange there as part of our UDOT logo. So
Okay.
this is the color that they got for us.
I guess you can then look at the gifted horse in the mouth, huh?
Yep. So, you know, for state, the governor is going to issue an executive order today that will require the use, mandate the use of masks in state office buildings and buildings that are run by the executive branch. Now, it will not require it if you're in your office, or you can maintain the, I like the term physical distancing better than social distancing, because I like us to actually be socially close. But you can maintain the 6-foot physical distancing. So we've been using the word strongly recommended, and that will change once that executive order is signed to required.
Thank you. At this point, I would like to ask all the commissioners to remember to send their mileage report to Heather. It is the fiscal year, I guess. She needs to have it all processed. This is not just the next week or next month. This is ASAP.
Yes.
Please.
We have state financial closure that we have to deal with, is what the chairman's referring to. So June 30th, we're in the tight period.
Haven't had too much mileage lately for commission meetings. Just between the kitchen and the bedroom here.
Whatever you have, report it,
Save
please.
some money.
Thank you. And of course, reminder again, the July, we don't have any meetings, so take a rest and do whatever you need to do. Happy 4th of July and 24th of July in advance. But the next meeting will be August 13, 14, and we were supposed to be in Roseville, but I don't think it's gonna happen, so.
Probably not.
Think about the same way we've done, and thank you for the IT people. Thank you for technology of the UDOT family. Such a beautiful way to present this program for the last 4 months. And appreciate all you do, and thank you for all the attendees and the Mayor Daines and Mayor Pike and all that have been with us today. Commissioners, any reports? Anything you want to share?
I will be attending this month from the bow.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say how much I do appreciate UDOT through it, all 2,500 of our colleagues. I've been to a few other states, even with the shutdown, and our reputation is so much higher. And among the people I deal with in the last several years, I can go to parties and tell them I'm a UDOT commissioner and not have to duck or be nervous because things are going so much better. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, that may speak to the quality of parties you go to, Commissioner.
No question about it. I hang out wherever there's a raspberry milkshake with Jim Evans and Commissioner Barlow.
Thank you for the comment. Carlos, any departing words from you?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you for your time and all you do for us. Please reach out to us if you see or hear anything that you have questions on, concerns about. You know, whatever it might be, please reach out to us. We'll be available to you anytime, and we all appreciate the work that you do to help partner with us to keep this this state moving. And just be safe and be happy. It's so important that we maintain that positive attitude and be able to help others feel that way as well. So thank you very much.
Terry, anything from you? You sure?
Second to unmute. No, I'm good. Just appreciate being able to be involved.
Okay, well, you're looking good with that tie. Jason, anything?
Just hope everyone has a safe break here, since we're not going to meet for a month. And be careful, both health-wise and driving-wise, and enjoy the fun.
And how is the new toy? Did you try it?
I have not. It's still being prepared by the boss of the house. So.
Okay.
Jason bought a new trailer.
Yes.
Oh.
It's not a trail, it's a motorhome or something.
Is that what you call it, Jason? I don't know. We're home.
Good job.
Yes. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much. Happy Friday. A wonderful weekend, everyone. And stay well, be well. Thank
you all.
Thank you, Nagi.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nagi.